Hi, friends. Welcome. So we'll be looking at building, leading, and managing teams. We all work in teams, and no man is an island. Even if you are running your own business, you surely have an assistant or a co-partner or a co-worker who will help you to work. Okay, so teams and groups are very important in our everyday lives. Okay, so we'll center this discussion on chapter 7 of the core text. And we'll be looking at teams. We'll be looking at teams and then managing groups as a whole. Okay, so I'm gonna share my slides. Okay, and I'll try to make it as brief as possible because, like I said, it is typically a wrap up, a summary, and you have the text at your disposal, which you could always leverage on. Okay, good. So building and managing teams, leading teams, okay. Some of us are already leading teams in any one way or the other, in our homes, in our settings, in our workplaces, in groups, even in classroom, you always lead teams, okay. So a group is always discussed or considered. In the case of Handy, he says that it is a collection of people who perceive themselves to be a group. So they belong to a particular party, a particular group, a particular segment of people who tend to have same shared beliefs. Okay, all right. Now, usually the key terms we normally use is that it is a formal. Okay, it follows some strict guidelines in terms of um, discussing or identifying their traits. It could also be informal, okay, quite unstructured, but still, they still buy into a same shared values. And then we could always make reference to them, and they could be autonomous. Okay, they could be autonomous, standing on their own. Now, a team, again, if you look at Smith and Katzenbach's definition of a team, they distinguish. So remember, group and teams could be different. Okay, could be different. Sometimes we try to equate them together, but if you look at Katzenbach's and Smith's definition of a team, they said it's a small number of group or a small number of people. Let me use the word group here. A small number of people with complementary skills, so each one augmenting the other, and they are committed to a common purpose, a common performance goal, an approach for which they themselves could hold each other mutually accountable. If it is good for the group, it's good for everyone. Okay, so group teams are a type of group. Okay, but not all groups are teams. So we're always looking at one being a bigger picture, one being a subset. Okay, so we always want to say, let's put ourselves in a group. It's surprising, or sometimes not surprising, when we put people in groups and they come up and nothing is happening because they don't buy into the same shared ideas. But if you want to be a good team player, you buy into the same common goals and objectives of the team. Okay. All right. Now, Steiner, if you look at Steiner, he argued that teams always function in four different ways. Now, Steiner says that one, they are additive, somebody brings something different on board. They are conjunctive, interdependence between contributions. Okay, so it's like my output becomes your input. You use my output as your input to produce something. Your output becomes an input for somebody. So we all interdepend on each other. Without one, we will not normally work. And then they could also be disjunctive, where everybody brings something different, but yet it leads to a synergistic solution. So marketing is doing something different in terms of marketing, production doing something relating to production, accounting doing something relating to finance. You realize they are not really interrelated, but yet when we bring them together, it achieves a common purpose. And then again, Steiner also argued that they should be complementary as usual. We should help each other, be mutually accountable. It's like additive, where everybody brings in something different to augment and to support each other. Okay, now in terms of groups, any organization believes in group work, teamwork. Okay, now within organizations, there is a firm belief that working within a group or a team helps improve some some elements of the organization. So one would think that let's work together, let's break up the tasks into different units, work on your own, I work on my own, and we'll increase productivity. Okay. Synergy. I cannot do everything. I have my skills and my knowledge and my competency, but I'm just one of the whole part. Okay. Like the human body, the ear stands on its own, but without the ear, the whole system goes deaf. Without the eye, the whole system goes blind. Okay, so synergy, one person cannot do everything. We all do our different parts, bring it together, and then we get a complete part. That is what you normally will see as 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4. Okay, it means once we all bring our different knowledge and pieces together, we end up producing something significant. Again, it leads to increased, improved focus and responsibility. Okay, in which case we are looking at each member will be given something to do so that we don't be overburdened. I'm not doing everything from scratch to end. I do a little, somebody does a little. We join it together and we will have some division of labor, segregation of duty, and improved responsibility. Again, when two heads come together or three heads come together, we know that we end up solving problems easily. Wisdom and knowledge is not embedded in one person's head. So in team working or in group working, we end up improving a good solution, providing good solutions to problems on hand. Again, two heads are better than one. So what I know, you may not know. So when we all come together, we generate good ideas to help improve the business settings. Again, and then also it gives me increased satisfaction because I'm in a group, I'm in a team. I see that sense of belongingness to a group, to a family. So I do my best and it gives me that satisfaction. Maslow's theory of needs. You remember that, okay? And also it improves information flow. So I go out, I get some information, I come, I share with the team. It improves my communication ability. You realize, okay, so this is what happens in terms of effective group and team working. But there could be problems, okay? There could be problems within groups, within teams, okay? Conformity is always difficult. So we always want to look at peer pressure, help pushing us to agree on decisions we may not buy into. But because it is a team, we always want to accept what is happening. We also have the Abilene paradox. Okay, it says that the group can end up with the outcome no one wants. No one wanted to disturb the consensus, let it pass. It's a group work, let it go. Okay, at the end of the day, what comes up, nobody wants it, but because that's what the team wants, we do it for them. Then we also have a risky shift or group polarization. If you're not careful, you'll see some cliques forming up. Okay, we tend to see ourselves as more important than the other, which doesn't help in in organizations. Sometimes get to a workplace and the finance team finance team thinks they are the best than the marketing, than the production because they run the finances. Marketing guys think they are the ones who bring the money. So it leads to some kind of polarization, which is not the best. Okay, it could lead to riskier decisions because people take decisions on their own to benefit themselves, not to benefit the entire company. And then groupthink, members will try to minimize problems and reach consensus within testing, without testing and analyzing the ideas. Okay, so we want to meet the objective quickly, not much thinking, not much uh, in-depth analysis. We just let it pass. Okay, so that is what we're looking at. Remember, in groups and in teams, we will normally have people coming in with multi skills. Okay, some will come in with multidisciplinary skills, and it helps a lot. Okay, it helps a lot. Let's wrap up this first segment now. Trackman developed a particular continuum or a particular structure, a diagram in terms of team development. So according to Trackman, he is saying that effectiveness of a group will run through a particular segment or a particular structure or system. One, he says that at the beginning, we have the forming stage, okay, in which case the members are no more than a collection of individuals, okay. So in forming, we are just bringing them together. We're not too sure of their roles and responsibilities. So this time, we look at the manager who will provide direction, bring them together, form them, forming the group. Then storming. A storm is not something which is a good thing. It's turbulent, okay? It's turbulent. So this is where you get the conflict stage, in which case members will try to test the manager's authority. They are just trying to test his authority. So you could find conflict resolution skills and leadership skills becoming very key at this point at the storming level where managers need it. So a manager must be very flexible at the storming stage because you bring in people from different backgrounds and you must ensure that you harness their skills together, but somebody doesn't understand. Somebody thinks it's better than the other. Okay. Then we have the next stage, which is the norming. So norming deals with where we all want to operate under a common norm. Okay, we will operate, we'll settle. So after the conflict resolution, everything normalizes. Okay. So at this stage, we are looking at team procedures are refined. The manager will begin to pass control, delegation of authority, and decision making to members of the team. All right. Once we have normalized this and we've clearly set out who does what, we then perform. Everybody is at full power. We are all putting in our best. We do all that we can. Okay. Then at the end of the day, the last thing which comes in is the adjourning. So adjourning talks of if a team remains for a long time in the performing phase, there is the danger that it will be operating on autopilot. Autopilot. Okay. So groupthink occurs to the extent that the group may be unaware of changing circumstances. So instead, maintaining the team becomes one of its prime objectives. So we just on autopilot, let's maintain the team. Let's do what we can. So it could be difficult in such situations to increase productivity if care is not taken. So what will normally happen is that in this situation, it will be necessary to adjourn or suspend the team. Don't leave it on autopilot. Adjourn it. Okay. So let's bring them together from different backgrounds. Resolve the conflict when there are storms. Normalize situations. Tell us what we want to do. Set out rules and responsibilities. We'll perform. But when we are on autopilot, adjourn the group so that we can start afresh and brainstorm and come up with innovative and brilliant ideas. Okay. Now, again, we have one point I want us to look at before we wrap up. So, again, Belbin in 1981 came up with the following types of teams. Okay. So, Belbin had 9 team roles, and it talks of the plant role where you solve difficult problems, but the weakness is they tend to ignore the nitty gritties. Then we have the resource investigator. He's always undertaking SWOT analysis and looking at opportunities, but sometimes they are over optimistic. We have the coordinator who will harness and bring everything together, promote decision making, clarifies roles and responsibilities, but they can be manipulative to some great extent. If you are not careful, you will be working to suit their desires. Then we have the shaper. For him, he will try to overcome obstacles by using his personal drive, moving people to come together. Okay, but one thing is that if you're not careful, he can provoke you to anger. And sometimes he himself could get upset or he could make you upset if you're not moving in line with the drive he has on hand. We have the monitor evaluator. He will normally generate options and give you alternative courses of action to undertake. But usually they are very critical, but they lack the drive to move it. Okay, they have the ideas, but they lack the drive. We have the team worker. He will avert friction, sometimes indecisive. They want someone to decide for them. We have the implementer who will always execute and implement the ideas into reality. Again, these implementers sometimes are inflexible. They are slow. They can be slow. And then we have the completer finisher role or team role where they find errors and they try to adjust and finish everything on time. But what happens is that they can be pedantic and they could be worrying when they are not meeting their objectives on time. Then we have the specialist. He has some rare skills, some specialist skills and knowledge, and they are more looking at the technicalities than the common platforms. Okay, I'll leave it at this point. If you look at the current book, page 257, there is a question there on, and it's in charge of a group of 12 people involved in complex work, so on and so forth. You're asked to write an email. Okay, you're asked to write an email to N explaining the cause of these changes in the group and recommending how you can ensure the group reverts to its former cohesiveness. Okay. And you can use Belbin and Tuckman's scenario to write this email. Usually we don't put up the answers on the community folder, community feed. But if you could do this, please, it will help a lot. It serves your own purpose and prepares you for the exams ahead. All right. So I'll end here. And I'll see you in the next session. We have 4 different sessions. So this is the first session for leading, building, and managing teams. We'll look at the next session in a bit. See you, friends. Bye for now.